Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston Astros fans from a diehard Houston Astro fan. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. Honestly, I'm just a bummed out podcaster today, that's for sure. That is my bio, that is my line. I'm a bummed out podcaster and creative multi-hyphenate. Of course, I am a Houston native and I have the receipts to prove it. I have mapped out all of the kolache factories in town, and when the kolaches are at their freshest, I'm planning some kind of kolache heist this fall on Peacock. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer in LA, and now I'm sadly podcasting. Either way you cut it, I am sadly podcasting. That's what happens once you hit 10 years out here. You foolishly start thinking that hiking is fun, and they give you a podcast. Welcome to said podcast. This is what my brother calls the Paul Broad Pod Ball Blog. Hey, brother, check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience. I started Space Cadet Sports as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a diehard long-term fan of the Houston Astros. Here we try not to be doom and gloom Astros fans, or worse, the national media haters. We love the team and root for them, but we also want to discuss the ins and outs of them without too much homerism. Today, I don't think that will be too hard. The key word is try. We do try to be reasonable and not too hot-takey or reactionary. That's me saying that to myself today after that kind of a game. And now that football season is here, officially, it's also time to talk about some Texans. We also have Dynamo football as well we can talk about. There's plenty of things that we'll be talking about on the podcast going forward. We are recording this transmission here in sunny LA. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and co-producer, the Roz to my Frasier. Carla, the dog, is sitting here right next to me. Usually I say she may get on mic from time to time. She is asleep. She is knocked out. She was not happy about that game. It is a hot one today. As Rob Thomas would say, it's a hot one. It's a hot one in here, so she will not, hopefully she won't get on mic too much today, but she is in studio. For at least one more time for us this baseball season, I do want to say a g'day, mate, to all of my Australian listeners out there. If this is your first time listening, welcome to the podcast. For those return listeners, you do know that I have been bragging about the fact that I am in the top 105 in Australian baseball podcasts. And I'm trying to top those charts, folks. If you know any Australians, let them know that we are out here doing this podcast. Send it to them and get me on the top 100 of Australia's baseball podcasts. I have simple dreams, folks. I am but a simple man who has been broken by today. So let your Australian friends know about me, the saddest podcaster out there. I don't think so. It's not going to be like that. For those of you who do know, I'm a very silly person. I do try to bring some joy and some levity to talking about your Houston Astros. So while today might have been a really tough day for you, as it has been a tough day for me, I am here to turn that frown upside down. I'm not saying I'm going to turn it into a smile. It just will now be misshapen after listening to this podcast. I am here for you. I clown for you, folks. Truly it's always H-Town versus everyone. And when the Astros go to the playoffs, it feels like that. So I know today there's going to be a lot of dunking on Astros fans. There's going to be a lot of stupid takes that are like more than, like 6 or 7 years old now. Just some really old jokes that are going to be out there. These are trolls. These are clowns. And I know one because it takes one to know one. I'm a clown. I recognize clownish behavior when I see it. So there's going to be a lot of clowning out there on the internet. There's going to be people trying to clown on you. Come here. Come to me. Come into my warm embrace where it is safe. Sit by the fire and discuss Astros with me in a safe environment. Folks, yeah, I am here for you to talk about this game. It really was a tough one. Hunter Brown started in this game. It was a great start for Hunter. We did have some offensive struggles right out of the gate with Tuve just missing, getting a single on a great defensive play from the Tigers there. In the second inning, the panic meter already started to go off in the top of the second as Tuve had an error on a throw that just sailed a bit wide of first, pulled Victor Caratini off the bag, and then there was a single to center that really set off the playoff panic meter inside of Panic Playoff Paul. And that guy, goodness, I can't even say it, Panic Playoff Paul, that guy, at that point when that single got to center, I was like, Myers would have caught that, with his crazy jump score. But I think that was reaching a little bit. I don't know for sure if Myers would have caught that, but at that point, I'm like, oh no, did we make a bad decision? Did Espada put in the wrong center fielder? I think it was just a little bit too much hand wringing at that point. I think that it would have been a tough jump even for Myers, but of course at that point you really the wheels start spinning. That was the first time in the second inning of this game that I could say that the Space Cadet Sports official Houston Astros panic meter spiked up to panic-stricken reasons, panic-stricken levels for me, I should say, this season. So that was tough. Then there was a redemption grounder to Tuve, who tossed it to Caratini to end the side out of there in the second. Already, A.J. Hinch uses his mad bag of pitchers and pulls Hanafi out to pitch the second inning. Breggy singles to left. Yana Diaz lined out to right. And Caratini really battled for a ground out. Battled to get a ground out, but Bregman was safe at second as he had a good jump before Caratini grounded out. And in this bat, Pena showed a little bit more patience, really made me happy, laying off of some of those breaking pitches down and away, and actually takes a walk. I feel like Yainer Diaz and Jeremy Pena, JP3, have had a lot of, I wouldn't say criticism, but I've been focusing on them a lot in this podcast, trying to say that we need more patient at-bats from them in particular, in that part of the lineup, to kind of bridge it to the lower part of our lineup to just continue to get hits. We do want slugging, but we did want slugging, I guess I should say. The series is over. It's about time I come to terms with that. But, we did want slugging, but maybe the way that Diaz and Pena have been hitting this season, we didn't want them to be pushing too much and expanding the zone. So it was good to see Pena show some patience here in this at-bat. He is a major cornerstone of this team going forward. So we want to see him continue to build on his success and to kind of get past some of those nagging little issues that have caused him trouble in his young career so far. So it was great to see him take that walk. This was a clutch moment that I was talking about in the previous episode, where I was saying that the Astros are going to need to get clutch hits. They're going to need to get hits with runners in scoring position in the big moment. I felt good about this. Jay Hay walked up to the plate. Hayward started the game in left field. I really liked the lineup for the start of the game. Knowing that Espada was going to pinch hit anybody and everybody off the bench. I liked Chas McCormick starting in center and Hayward starting in left, being able to ride the momentum of their really good at bats at the end of Game 2, and moving forward to see if they could ride that momentum and continue to work really patient at bats for the team. And if they can't, then you bring in your defensive replacements in Myers and Doobie, who are still pretty good at getting hits here and there. So I liked that lineup. I liked Hayward in this spot. Sadly, Jay Hay had a sharp liner that just went foul, and then he battled for another hit or not a hit, but another batted ball that hooks just foul, and then Hayward strikes out on a high fastball. And this was the moment, the community meme with Donald Glover in acting class, my emotions, because my emotions were completely out of control in this second inning. The panic meter shot through the roof. There was no more panic. It just went straight into emotions and stress eating. Actually, it didn't even become good stress eating, because all I had were some stale cookies. I should have went to the grocery store and bought some conchas. I was so optimistic about the Astros winning this game. Truly, I was. Well, it wasn't just performative podcasting. You're like, oh, that Paul, he's always putting on a happy face for us, that performative podcaster. But no, I truly was optimistic about the Astros winning this game, and I think the most telling sign is that I didn't pick up any treats to stress eat and to give myself some consolation after potentially losing a game. I really did think that this was the Astros game to win. It turned out it was theirs to lose. We'll continue to get to it. Obviously, you do know the score of the game at this point, but we're creating a narrative, folks. I'm painting a vignette. Okay, I'm an artiste. All right, so follow along with the story with me here. We're going to the third inning. Hunter Brown steadies our nerves a little bit in the third with a quick inning there, but then in the offense once again stalls out. Chas grounds out, Tuve strikes out looking, and then they have a pitching change to a left-handed pitcher. Brant Herter comes in to hurt us a little bit. Tucker comes up. There's some non-competitive pitching there, and Tucker walks. Jordan shows up to threaten. However, a broken bat ground out softly to second ends the inning. Jordan's threat there ended up falling soft. He did not look like he was moving very well in this game. I was saying we wanted him healthy. We wanted him available for this game. We need even the threat of Jordan in this lineup to get us some offense and to get us some playoff wins. We didn't get those playoff wins. But I do think I was half right in the sense that the Astros needed Jordan in the lineup. If they only were able to perform the way they performed offensively with Jordan in the lineup, I do not want to think about what it would have been like with him out of it. However, he did not look like he was moving his best there. I was really worried in that last game when he hit that double and was rounding first and going to second. He looked like a softball player that knew he couldn't quite get to second. It just didn't, he looked hesitant, he didn't look right, so anytime Jordan was running, I was a little nervous. Trust me, I wanted to win these games. I wasn't like being like, Jordan, take it easy, don't try to get a big hit here, but I was nervous for Jordan out there. I do want a healthy Jordan. This team depends on him. Seeing him in this moment, not moving the best, not getting the hit that we wanted, and also not moving the best was just negative emotions on both sides. Moving on to the fourth inning, it's still a close one here. Chas McCormick, here's my defensive comparison from early in the game, and gets a kind of Jake Myers-ian out of this world jump stat, and gets an amazing extra base hit saving catch in left center. But it's still it's a 1-2-3 inning for Hunter Brown once again, despite the dramatics in the fourth. The offense, Bregman has another amazing playoff at bat, but his bid for a homer falls short in deep left center on the warning track. Truly, his playoff at-bats have been amazing. I'm going to pass on that for now, and we'll talk a little bit more about Bregman later on in the podcast. Yainer Diaz was got a hit to the right center gap for a single in this game. Once again, it's good to see. Obviously we didn't win the game, but with my criticisms of Jeremy Pena and Yainer Diaz, or if not, overwhelming criticism of them, my putting the spotlight on them and saying we need to watch how they perform because how they go is how the Astros go. They really didn't. They really struggled at points of this game, but they also did have some moments in the series that we can kind of look to be like, okay, the cornerstone of our future of Jeremy Pena and Yainer Diaz, they're taking some lumps, they're learning some lessons, but hopefully they can use this to be foundational pieces for us going forward. Caratini gets plunked next. He gets hit towards his knees. It was not. It was. You're hoping nothing happens to Victor there. He's been such a good force for the Astros. Obviously, wasn't intentional or anything like that. I thought it was like a slider or something, but it was like a fastball that got away. No harm, no foul. Caratini goes on base. Then Pena grounds into a double play to end the inning, kind of, losing a little bit of that goodwill from his last at-bat. Then going into the fifth, Hunter gets into a little bit of trouble with a walk that also steals second, but he gets a strikeout to get out of trouble. He seems to be losing a little steam at this point of the game, but still brought it, and at this point has 8 strikeouts. In the fifth, there's a pinch hit single for Dubon, who was in for Jason Hayward because they had the left-handed pitcher in there. They went with the righty for the matchup. So Jay Hay is out for the game. Then Q, La Bamba, and the Chaz Chomp in the musical mashup you really didn't ask for. I don't know what that would even sound like. I guess, now that the season is over, I guess that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a La Bamba, Chaz Chomp mashup remix, so that we have that ready to go for next season. But Chaz comes up, a defensive miscue for the Tigers as they miss out on a double play from a Chaz fielder's choice. Doobie is out at second, but Chaz is safe first. There's a pitching chain. Bo Brisky comes in, and another bid for a homer from Tuve, but it's not long or hard enough. And and a great stolen base from Chaz, but then Tucker gets called out looking on a pitch that looked slightly off the plate, but maybe it could have scraped the black, could have gone either way. At least on first watch, I am recording immediately after the game has ended, so this is tough. I have not gotten to rewatch anything. I haven't gotten to hear anybody's post-game thing. Same thing yesterday. I kind of watched the game and I just jump on the podcast and hit record. I'm a hit record Joe. Definitely a Joe Go Levitt of sorts over here. So when I go back and watch that at bat, I'm sure that my feelings may change on it, but in that moment I was just so frustrated that there was a strikeout looking there because I thought that could have been a ball if nothing else. Moving on to the sixth, this is where the game starts to get out of control just a little bit. I did say Hunter was in a little bit of trouble in that fifth inning. He wasn't his sharpest, but he wasn't looking exactly like a type of pitcher that you want to pull out. This is no criticism of manager Joe Espada. I would have left Hunter in, but I mean, honestly, I don't know if y'all judge managers based off of what your dumb podcaster friend would do. So I know there's going to be varying degrees here, but I don't think, in my opinion, that Joe Espada should wear too much blame for running Hunter back out there in the sixth. But Parker Meadows hits a home run to deep right. And, honestly, I don't think I'll ever eat another Little Caesars pizza ever again. It was tough to watch. It definitely, Hunter Brown pitched an amazing game. Hunter Brown, once again, went up there, and now he's getting the JV treatment of years past, where he pitches fantastically but doesn't always get the run support from the Astros that he needs to win these games. So he gives up this home run. I'm never eating deep dish again. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever drive an American car again. If, you know what, a Coney? Conies are out. No more Conies for you, boy. And Eminem, if I ever see Eminem, you know what? I'm just going to do some Eminem diss tracks. He says Slim Shady is dead. I am going to attack Marshall Mathers. I'm going to come at Marshall Mathers and start a rap beef because of this game. No, truly, I was very frustrated. This was a moment where, you know, the emotions and tensions were running high in the Salazar household for sure. Then there's a soft line out from Hunter Brown to get the first out. Then a bounce back strikeout. Hunter Brown gets a full count but walks to the next batter, and Espada plays Captain Hook here and decides it's time for Diesel to come out of the game. Diesel was portrayed as, quote, not happy by the broadcast, but I don't think that's the case. I think the way that Hunter Brown has been playing lately has been playing with a lot of passion, with a lot of intensity, and I think that he was just really fired up and dealing with a little bit of frustration from having a full count and wanting that strikeout and wanting to get a quality start in the playoffs and get out of the inning. You know, it's just human. He pitched well enough to deserve a quality start in this game and was one pitch away from it. I think he was just frustrated. I think he was competitive. I think he was firing up the guys in the huddle there as he was walking off. I think this was just competition. I don't think this was Diesel being a drama queen or a prima donna or anything like that. But maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I haven't heard any of the post-game interviews or anything like that. So this is speculation, kind of like in the previous podcast when I was speculating that Kikuchi was going to be the starter and just speaking of it very confidently. And that's just because, honestly, I'm learning. You kind of just have to go out there and say your opinion sometimes. And when you're wrong, just be like, you know what, I was wrong. I'm not an insider. I got a little, from the pundits. I thought if you go back and listen to the podcast, you go back and listen, and I was saying Hunter Brown was your second playoff starter in the rotation for about a month now. So it's not that I didn't think Hunter Brown deserved the opportunity, as much as I thought that the Astros were trending towards Yusei Kikuchi taking that second spot, and I was going with the overwhelming narrative that was happening online. Because, truthfully, even if, it's springing from a place of misinformation, I just felt a little more confident going with that instead of just my own biased opinion. Obviously, I was wrong. The Astros went with Hunter Brown. So, sometimes, maybe Hunter Brown was a little frustrated in this. But from where I was sitting, from when I was watching the game, after the game ended, right now, in this moment, I did not think he was. I just wasn't too happy about him being portrayed in that light. Abreu comes in to replace Diesel, who's pitched 99 pitches at this point. It was really the start that I knew Hunter Brown could give us. I'm talking about Jeremy Pena, JP3. I'm talking about Yainer Diaz. And Hunter Brown is another name to throw on that list. It stinks. It sucks. There's no other way to put it. The season is over for your Houston Astros, and it doesn't feel good. I know you're frustrated. I know you're sad. I know you're angry, but also this team has given us so much stuff. I'm trying not to get bogged down in negative emotion. I also want to talk about the future. So when we're looking at the future of this team, these are playoff building successes for Hunter Brown. These are playoff and character building moments for Yainer Diaz. And even though Jeremy Pena has been there before, for Jeremy Pena, as he is being relied upon to do more things for this team instead of just being found money and like, hey, just go up there and have some fun, JP3. Now the pressure's on for him a little more to execute. So I think these are growing pains a little bit for them a bit, but something that I think is good for them and good for the team going forward. I think after he got pulled out of the game, he went there to the dugout and talked to Justin Verlander in the dugout. That was really good to see. It's good to see JV there supporting the team, supporting the young Hunter Brown, just being there as a veteran presence for the Astros. Obviously, everybody in that dugout wanted this postseason run to continue on. They did not want it to end there. But, it was like having an extra coach in there for the guys, even though they are not advancing in the playoffs. You see that, and it just fills you with joy. JV is not the prima donna that a lot of people paint him as at times. I think he's just uber competitive, and he's very very stubborn about the system in which he wants on his game days, and that gives him a bad rep. I don't know exactly everything that entails, so maybe he could be nicer on game days. I don't know. I'm not. I'll have to ask JV himself one day when he comes on the podcast. At this point of the game, when Hunter Brown is pulled out, when the Tigers are up 1-0, and Abreu is in, Abreu comes in and he walks Cole Keith to make 2 walks in a row with 2 outs, and the juice box with the runner on second in scoring position, Minute Maid Park, aka the juice box, sounded anxious, just the way my mind sounds as a baseline performance. Just really anxious, lots of uncomfortable murmuring. Luckily for Astros fans, Abreu gets the strikeout to end the suffering of the top of the 6th. Onto the bottom of the 6th, Jordan walks, trying to run on first with Breggy up. Oh, sorry, tying run on first with Breggy up. I was like, trying to run on first? What does that mean? It might be your notes, Paul. But no, I just need better handwriting. Tying runs on first with Bregman up. A liner to left that just stays up a little too long, and Bregman flies out. Another good at-bat, another good kind of contact, but just not hit in the right place for Breggy. Diaz immediately comes out swinging at a low ball for strike 1, and swings at a second pitch, just looking a little too aggressive here, and grounds into a double play to end the inning. On to the 7th. Abreu starting this inning as well. You kind of expected the way that Espada used a lot of arms the day before with the high leverage situation here. You're expecting Abreu to at least have an opportunity to pitch the 7th. Grounder to second, and then another soft grounder for 2 outs. I don't know why I didn't put the third out there, but Abreu obviously gets out of the 7th there. Let me go to my extended notes here. This was a big game. I don't want to, I'm kind of, got a little sloppy there, obviously, as my emotions were high. So we're going back to the official notes here in the 7th. There was a ground out to second, a ground out to the pitcher, and then he struck out Jake Rogers. That is how that inning ended, Paul. Oh, thanks, Paul. At that point, A.J. Hinch is really feeling himself. The Tigers are up 1-0. A.J. Hinch has been pitching pretty well here as a manager, and he might have made his first misstep, but obviously not a misstep that the Astros were able to win the game with, but just one they were able to punish the Tigers with. A.J. Hinch went with pitching prospect Jackson Jobe, and Jackson Jobe has not had a lot of experience in the major leagues. He is a highly touted prospect, however. So this was kind of when you're on a heater as a 3-point shooter and you're just taking all the shots. AJ Hinch was just really feeling himself, and he did a heat check here to see how hot he was. Immediately, Jackson Jobe hit Caratini. I don't know why the Tigers don't like Caratini so much, but they hit him again. Obviously not intentional. But Pena then hits a Texas leaguer to shallow center and gets a single. Jobe is in a situation that the Astros need to capitalize on and hopefully force A.J. Hinch to bring in another hitter. Doobie comes up, hoping for a hit and a pass the baton situation to get the Astros to the top of the order here. This is the moment where I said the Astros, bottom of the order, needs to have great at-bats, not swing outside the zone, and either work a walk or get a hit to just pass the baton. Doobie was being really crafty up there, just being a regular Wile E. Coyote. He was showing bunt and withdrawing a couple of times for 2 balls. Really, the crowd was putting the pressure on the situation, being loud, being obnoxious, really getting into the game. I know that Ben Verlander and the ABC or ESPN crew, were a little critical of the noise that the Astros were making at certain points in the game. Whether I think Ben Verlander was talking about the beginning of the game wasn't too loud, and the ESPN crew was saying that the end of the game wasn't too loud. But the Astros fans were being very loud. They were being very into it. I think it's always funny that for whatever reason, Astros fans always get a lot of heat. We are either being too quiet or too obnoxious. I don't there's nothing we do that the national media ever tends to say anything kindly about. So I really don't know where that is ever coming from. Because I was like, they were into the game, so they really got loud here with this pressure. Doobie bunts to load the bases, and then Singleton comes up in a big pinch hit situation. I love this matchup. Like, truly, what a matchup. A pitching prospect that's looking to cut his teeth in a playoff moment versus the kind of prodigal son story of John Singleton, who's been everywhere, been a journeyman, trying to have a big playoff moment. Both of these guys looking at different points in their career, looking to have a big playoff moment. Jackson Jobe being a flamethrower, John Singleton being a very patient hitter with a big swing. John reaches on a grounder to first base that a throw goes home. Caratini scores on a throwing error, and the bases are loaded. Singleton is on first, Doobie on second, JP3 on third, and Tuve is up with no outs. Carla is still waiting for her grand salami. Sadly, we know. I wrote that when we were still hopeful that the Astros were going to play more baseball, but this season, for those of you who are regular listeners, you know that Carla gets a treat every time that the Astros hit a home run. She gets a treat for big runs, obviously, in the playoffs, and I even had some salami that I bought that I was hoping that the Astros would hit some grand slams and I can give my dog some salami. Instead, I've just been making salami sandwiches, and they never gave us one this season. So, shame on you, Astros. Shame on you. You could have spoiled my dog with me. Instead, you decide to do whatever nonsense this was. Come on, Astros. It was frustrating. So anyway, this wasn't a grand slam. However, Tuve popped up to shallow right behind first, and the next thing you know, blink and you miss it, Pena is running home and dives headfirst into home to score the second run on a Tuve sac fly. Jake Myers comes in to run for Big John, and then Kyle Tucker grounds into a double play to end the inning. Obviously, in retrospect, you were hoping the Astros could have done more damage there. Kyle Tucker had a tough one. Moving on to the eighth here, Ryan Presley came in to pitch the eighth. We're looking for Ryan Presley, not Ryan Stressley. Don't want to get into... I don't want Ryan Presley's family to come for me. We obviously... this is a reminder that these players are people. While we are very frustrated today and while we want to be cruel about their performances, remember that they're people. Don't go overboard with your hate and your vitriol. Don't do stupid nonsense and be a bad fan, folks. Don't have people's family telling you online that you're being a monster. All right? But let's get to Stressley here. He struck out his first batter, then a single to center from Carpenter and a single from Vierling. It was tough. Press then spikes a pitch in the dirt, and Yainer Diaz did not block it and gets behind him, and the tying score runs. This was a tough thing. And, it's really hard because I feel like a lot of people, last season were so critical of Martin Maldonado, and everybody wanted Yonder Diaz to be starting. Everybody was saying that Dusty Baker was a fool for not starting Yonder Diaz because of his amazing offensive season last year. And Dusty Baker has been on record saying, y'all are going to thank me for this later. Like one day you'll all see how wise I am. I've been in baseball for like 60 years, and you have a podcast, Paul. What do you know compared to me? So obviously, I took the side of Dusty Baker. Now I have been a fan of Yonder Diaz. I also was a little critical of Dusty. I think there could have been more situations for Yonder to play. Last season, I wanted to see him more at first. I wanted to see him in the DH a little more. I wasn't trying to say he needed a 50-50 split with Martin Maldonado. I just wanted to see more of him, of course. However, I think that one of the points that I've always been going on about Yonder Diaz versus Martin Maldonado specifically, is that the defensive metrics that we were all salivating over about Yonder Diaz is a backup catcher's defensive metrics. When you play everyday catcher, there's a wear and tear on you. You're in meetings, you're in pitcher meetings, you're game planning, you have a lot of responsibilities as the everyday starting catcher, or at least, almost everyday starting catcher. On top of it, I feel like your hitting suffers, I feel like your defense starts to suffer, and I think it's like a veteran thing of like learning kind of how to maintain your form throughout an entire season. Kind of like a pitcher, at some point, you eat up so many innings and your body is just a little exhausted. Everything is a little bit not as tight as it was at the beginning of the season. Things are a little more loosey-goosey, so your form isn't quite as good as the season goes on, and you have to kind of learn how to maintain, how to, kind of have the same performance throughout an entire season. And I think Yonder Diaz, one of the things that the broadcasters on ESPN said, and I think it is a very valid point about Yonder Diaz not blocking this pitch, is that most modern day catchers, you are prioritizing framing over blocking, and that's definitely something that I believe the Astros do. But blocking pitches was something that Machete was so amazing at. Maldonado calling games, throwing people out, obviously, into that last season when he lost a little arm strength there, and blocking pitches were, Martin Maldonado's calling card. We were all so frustrated by Martin Maldonado's bat, but the reason why, as a playoff type baseball team, you want a defensive minded catcher is for these reasons. And I think a lot of casual baseball fans are like, you want the hotter hitting catcher in at all times. But truly what you want is a defensive minded catcher that is able to give you some offense. Yonder Diaz is that catcher. I think he is going through a little bit of growing pains here. I think this was a tough look for him. But I am optimistic that Yonder Diaz is going to improve in blocking, improve in, those type of metrics as he learns here. After that tying run scores, there's a big strikeout. This was the first, I know I'm still talking about the run, but it was the first earned run from Presley in over 20 playoff innings. So it just, while Presley has had a tough season, and I've been a little wary of him, and even saying that I believe, I've been saying this season, off and on, that maybe Abreu, it's time for him to leapfrog Presley too, even though the ramifications of Presley going from 9th to 7th inning might be a little tough. I wasn't thinking that Presley was going to struggle here, but it was really tough to see. It was his first career career playoff blown save. He then gives up a walk after that strikeout, and that's the hook, Captain Hook. Joe Espada comes in, and brings in Hader. Once again, I'm jokingly calling him Captain Hook. Obviously, I feel like AJ Hinch, that might be a better name for AJ Hinch because of all of the changes he does in pitching. So we're going to switch that up now. I've decided, look, you could always pivot, guys. It's never too late. Joe Espada, I was jokingly saying that, but I believe AJ Hinch from now on, we're going to call him Captain Hook. We're going to keep Joe Espada's nickname Joe Cool. So Joe Cool comes in, and he brings Hader in, but to much to our chagrin, and much to our nerves, it's a non-save situation. Hader has worn the allegations that he is great in save situations and terrible in non-save situations this season. Up until yesterday, in yesterday's podcast, I was even saying that Hader, or maybe it was 2 podcasts ago, either way, I was saying that Hader is going to sharpen up because while he might have been bad in non-save situations in the past, this is the playoffs. The moment is going to be big. These hitters are going to be hitting in these situations as if everything is on the line. I think the adrenaline's going to be going. I wasn't too worried about Hader in a non-save situation. You got to pitch your best pitchers in any situation, despite if it's a save or not. That's why the Astros are paying him a lot of money. That's why Hader has agreed to do stretch saves and stuff like that, because Hader knows he was working for the contract. He got his payday. He's game. Unfortunately, there needs to be a little bit of tweaking maybe for Hader when he's coming into non-save situations, or maybe like just a different mentality. I don't know. I am not a bullpen coach. I am speculating here. The Astros really in this situation was looking to shake off some demons of their regular season of being good in late innings, being good in non-save situations for Hader, and trying to shake off last year's postseason of, losing so many games at home. Once again, obviously the Astros, I believe today that's a 7th straight game lost at home in the playoffs, I should say. Hader comes in and he walks Torkelson on 4 pitches immediately and loads the bases up. Something I mentioned even when we signed Hader to the $95 million contract. You can go back. I just started podcasting this season. If you go back to the beginning of the season, you hear my talking about Hader's contract. I was like, the only thing is sometimes he could be a little, he could kind of be a little wild, not exactly hitting his spots sometimes. And he really looked bad in those 4 straight pitches. Then they had a pinch hitter, Ibanez, with the bases loaded here. And Hader gives up a hit to left field to clear the bases 5-2 for the pinch hitter, Ibanez. It was absolutely heartbreaking. There's no other way to put it. I was nervous. I did not like what he was pitching there. Obviously, a 4-pitch walk was not ideal. You're hoping that he could shake the allegations, but in the back of your mind, you're just like, oh no, what has happened to Presley and Hader? He makes the hit. You're hoping it's foul. It is fair. It clears the bases, and then Hader gets a fly out to end the side. The Astros have a lot of work to do in the bottom of the 8th, and then there's 3 ground balls to end the inning from, the heart of our lineup. Jordan, Bregman, and Yanner all have ground balls there. Not feeling good. The feelings are getting tighter and sadder. I'm already thinking like, oh no, what if I have to do a sad podcast today? I was hoping not. I really could use a little joy, life. Thanks for this. Thanks for nothing, life. No, I'm truly a blessed man. I'm playing angry, but because I am angry, and it's okay to feel angry. But I do know, I do have a little grain of salt there. I do know that this is gonna be passing anger. Moving on to the 9th, where we can talk about that anger. Hader starts the inning again. He gives up the single to left field on a play that was almost a web gem from Doobie. Then there's a bunt, but Bregman plays it perfectly and gets the out at second. no runners in scoring position, and then a pickoff from Hader to get the runner at first. Finally, not finally. It was a pretty good defensive series, but you're happy to see some great defense here from the Astros when they just cannot afford any more lost momentum down 3 runs. Then there's a line drive for a base hit, and Hader walks the next batter, obviously moving in the opposite direction, the momentum meter there, and finally there's a pop up to end the side. At that point, something that the announcer said again is that these players, let me get my baseball announcer voice on. These players have no hop in their step. The very baseball announcery trying to talk about body language there. And I just have to say, after watching this team for every freaking game this season, I think I understand their body language pretty darn well. They are professionals who go to work every day. They don't get, they go to work, they don't get too up, they don't get too down, they don't do cartwheels or have pizza pikes. They play baseball, and they play to win, and they play to silence the haters. They don't have a lot of wildly up and high energy generally. They kind of they're an even-keeled team, just like Joe Cool, just like Dusty Baker. They kind of, after the scandal and Dusty Baker came to be their manager, they kind of have been just an even-keeled team, and that's kind of been their makeup. And I think it served them well to not get too high and not to get too low and not just ride emotions all the time. But sometimes, in these moments, there are going to be people who say, look at them. They don't look like they have any energy. They don't look like they care. They've just been here before. They know what it's like. They don't stress out or get worried or get all emotional all the time. I'm just saying, I don't think that really is a narrative. I think that's something that they're just trying to push because they aren't used to seeing this team on a day in and day out basis. They had 3 outs left. You're feeling pretty down, Astros fans. Vest comes out to close the game and strikes Caratini out looking. JP3, looking for some life, makes a bid for a home run, but it is just not deep enough. They were talking about how nobody hits a home run off of this guy's fastball. JP3 makes a bid for it, but it is just not enough, not far enough, not hard enough, and it just hangs up long enough for the fielder to catch it. And then for the last batter, we have Mauricio Dubon. So it's not going to be a strikeout or a walk. Doobie grounds out as the last batter. This, was definitely heartbreaking. We wanted to go for the record of 8 straight ALCSs. We wanted those bragging rights as Astros fans. I know I did. I didn't want to jinx it and come on here on the podcast and say all the time that, it's ALCS or bust or anything like that. But we all wanted that. I feel like that kind of was a mentality for this season, is we had to get to the ALCS to feel success, to have those bragging rights, to be able to rub it in other teams' faces. But we're not going to get that, folks. It just, it was a rough game. It was still a good game, and I think it was still a very, very close game, and you can't, I don't think you can be too frustrated by the performance of this team or of this manager. Now, we can get into individual performances for sure and what these players need to sharpen up. We could look at the front office to see, if maybe there was a particular type of move that could have been better. But every step of the way this season, I really haven't been able to find too much blame in the front office or in the managerial side. There has just been gameplay things, defensive sharpening, obviously some hitting things that have been a huge issue for this team. Another thing for the Astros is truly this season, I was waiting for a we're back moment. Don't worry, folks. The Astros are back. The Astros never really gave me an opportunity to be like, we're back, baby. I definitely might have said that jokingly a couple of times, but there really was never a moment where I'm like, don't worry, the ship is steadied and this team is back to who they are. They have they were a great team this season. There's honestly, I would dispute anybody who would say otherwise. This team was great. They won the division. They started off very poorly, but they were able to pick it up and turn into a really good offensive team and really good pitching team. Defensively, they did have some issues. Base running wasn't exactly where you wanted it to be. They were aggressive, early in the year, but then had to tail some of that off. Injuries were just plagued this team all season long, and the Astros never really get a lot of attention for the injuries that they get. And that's because the Astros generally have another player ready to take their spot. And everyone's just like, oh, well, the Astros are inevitable. But the Astros dealt with so many injuries this season. It's ridiculous. GM Dana Brown deserves a lot of credit for the moves that he made to keep this team competitive. And manager Joe Espada deserves a lot of love for, in this year where so many rookie managers might have just really struggled and maybe would have tried to change the team dynamic or tried to mix them something up, he rode the wave of Astros excellence and just betted on the Astros and betted on their talent and won the AL West and got this team so close to another playoff series win. I feel like the series is very much a metaphor for the season for the Astros. If that Jason Hayward hit was just a couple of inches higher or a couple of feet to the left or the right, it would not have been caught by the first baseman, and the Astros might have won that first game. And this would have been a completely different second game as the momentum was in the Astros' favor. If that would have happened, the allegations of the Astros not being able to win at home in the playoffs would have been beaten and gotten the monkey off the backs of the Astros a little bit. This season was so close to being another great Astros season for fans, but because they don't get completely all the way to where we want them to be, people are going to tell you that this team was a failure or this was not a good season. And it's mostly going to come from the haters. It's going to come from the trolls. But I'm just telling you, don't fall for it. This was a good team. This was truly, I believe, a great team that just really struggled with injuries, struggled with a terrible, historically bad start, but was able to make a lot of noise and finish strong and finish with some pride. I think this game, if it just would have broken a couple different ways offensively for us, it would have been a different story. I think going forward, I mentioned in the last podcast how potentially the Astros are going to look at their hitting coaches, and I think that's what's going to happen in this offseason. I see that they're really going to take a hard look at Alex Citron and Troy Snicker. I could see potentially Citron moving on to another hitting coach job. I don't have any insider information. I'm just saying maybe what they do is they keep one of the guys and they bring in a new head hitting coach and kind of get another philosophy going. I really think that the Astros' aggression is a really good thing. They ran into Tarek Skubal, they ran into a buzzsaw, and Skubal and AJ Hinch really won this series for the Detroit Tigers. If Skubal wasn't as dominant, if the Astros were able to get just an average just an average number one starting pitcher on any team, I think they would have had a different story. But they ran into the gritty Tigers and Tarek Skubal, and he pitched amazingly well, and you just have to tip your hat to Skubal. You have to tip your hat to Hinch. They won that first game. If the Astros were able to win that first game, this would be a completely different story. I don't regret saying that it doesn't matter if we play the Tigers or the Royals. The Astros either way would have had to play their much talented playoff baseball team opponent and win it. And the Tigers just did amazingly. You have to just tip your cap to them and respect them. Obviously there's going to be a lot of trolls out there. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be going wild today Don't take the bait. Maybe stay offline. Just hang out with me. We could talk some Astros baseball. Maybe go watch some old Astros games. Just know that the reason why that there are trolls out there is because they hate us because they ain't us. You know what I'm saying? They don't have anything to cheer for or to make themselves happy. The only thing that can make these poor, miserable souls, these poor ugly trolls happy is to be able to knock you down a peg because your life is so good. You have had, so much, 8 straight seasons of Houston Astros golden era baseball. You've got another playoff victory, a playoff series here, another AL West championship is what I'm trying to say. These Astros have spoiled you with success. So these trolls are just trying to knock you down a peg because they see how happy the Astros make you. They see how great the Astros are as an organization. They see it as a dynasty, and they don't like it. So they're trying to knock you down a peg to make them feel better about themselves. Don't fall for it. Don't take the bait. These trolls are just losers that have nothing better to do than hate. Truly. I like to do roast comedy. I like to make jokes about other people. I like to do some smack talk. A little bit of smack talk is fun. After the game, my partner, Sarah, her dad is a Detroit Tigers fan. So I got my father-in-law, calling me, talking some smack on me, about the Astros versus the Tigers, but I know it's all in love. When that happens, folks, talk some smack back, have a little fun. But when it comes from a place of hate, when it comes from a troll or a hater, don't take the bait. Don't engage. Know that these losers are out there just trying to get a rise out of you. Your life is good, and guess what? Next season is going to be another great season of Astros baseball. We have a lot of things to talk about. A lot of things to discuss. We're definitely going to do a post-mortem for your Houston Astros 2024 season. We do have plenty of content coming up for Astros fans. There are lots of things to talk about besides just the bummer of this game and how to handle trolls. But going forward, folks, look ahead to other Astros podcasts in this feed. But we will have a lot of Houston Texans material as well going forward, as it is officially football season, and as the Rockets season gets started as well, we will have some Rockets discussions on the podcast too. So folks, do not be too sad. Try to keep your head up. This was a tough day, but the Astros are still built for success. Their window is not closing, and I cannot wait to convince you that that is the truth and explain to you why I feel that is the case on future episodes of the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, folks. That's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Please smash some buttons for me. Like, rate, review, give me a 5-star rating, subscribe, automatically download, share, bop it, skip it, punch it. Whatever you do, please stop by the Substack. That's spacecadetsports.substack.com, where you can get every article, every podcast, and every meme dump emailed to you directly for free. You just put your email in that field, and you are part of the crew. Or if you're like me and you like mobile apps or iPad apps better, you can get the Substack app. Search Space Cadet Sports. Subscribe there and say you want notifications instead of emails. You don't get emails anymore. Now you just get a phone notification to pop up when I have a podcast, article, or meme dump. And once again, that is for free. If you would like to support the podcast, if you've been with me all season and you would like to support, I would appreciate that greatly. We have a spooky season sale on the subscription. You can subscribe for a very low nominal fee, and that is just to support the podcast. That is not necessary, but if you want to do that, we would be grateful, of course. Please reach out. Let me know your takes on social media, even if you want to. If you're going to come with some hate, just be prepared. You might get blocked. I am a comedy roast writer, so maybe don't come at me and don't start none. There won't be none, but you definitely can let me know your takes on social media at Paul Salazar Jr., or you can call in and leave a voicemail and let me know your takes. Definitely, you could do that on speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. Once again, that's speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. Definitely there's been some haters that have called on there. I kind of think it's funny. Yeah, you call on in. Why not? Maybe you'll make the pod. Who knows? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening this whole season long. Even though the Astros season is over, the Space Cadet Sports podcast will still live on. We're going to have a wrap-up baseball season wrap-up show. We're going to do a post-mortem and talk about what had happened to our Astros this season. We're also going to do some superlatives and give out some awards for the Astros this season. I don't know if anybody will show up, but I will give out some invitations to those Astros to see if they will show up to receive their awards. We have lots of fun stuff on schedule for Astros Talk going forward, so please keep subscribing. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid, and as always, vamos Astros.